Beneath the sands of Egypt lies something even stranger than pyramids. 24 granite boxes, each weighing up to 100 tons, carved with machine-like precision and hidden deep underground. No one knows how they were made, moved, or why they exist. Ancient copper tools can't explain it. Modern machines struggle to replicate it. And the biggest mystery? These boxes weren't built to be seen. In 1850, a French Egyptologist named Auguste Mariette followed a line of half-buried sphinxes through the desert of Saqqara. What he found wasn't a pyramid, a shrine, or even a tomb. It was a shaft descending into the earth, leading to a shadowy underground labyrinth. And inside that pitch-black maze were enormous black boxes, 24 complete granite boxes plus fragments of at least 4 others lined up like giant coffins. Each one was carved from a single block of granite, fitted with a lid that alone could weigh up to 30 tons. The entire box and lid together? Around 100 tons. That's the weight of a Boeing 757. For context, the largest stones in Stonehenge are 50 tons. The trilithons at Baalbek, often cited as the heaviest ancient stones ever moved, are 800 tons, but they're still above ground. These boxes had to be maneuvered through narrow underground passages. They weren't just heavy, they were impossibly precise. Their corners were laser sharp. When engineer Christopher Dunn measured the boxes, he found flatness variations of just 0.0005 inches across surfaces spanning several feet. That's 5 times more precise than standard machining tolerances used in modern manufacturing. The inside corners measured exactly 90 degrees, with deviations so minor they required precision instruments to detect. Their interiors were polished so perfectly that they reflect light like mirrors. You could run a square along the inside corners and get a perfect 90-degree angle. Engineers today admit that building just one of these would be a significant feat using modern machines. And yet they lie hidden underground, with no clear way in or out. These chambers make up what's known as the Serapeum, believed by most scholars to be the burial place of the Apis bulls, sacred animals in Egyptian mythology. But there's a problem. Actually, several. Only 7 of the 24 boxes contained any organic remains when opened. Box number 13 was found completely sealed but had been empty for over 2,000 years. No remains. No artifacts, nothing but stone. And then there are the inscriptions. Some boxes are covered with crude hieroglyphs, but others have none at all. And the ones that do? The writing looks rushed, amateurish, almost like graffiti compared to the flawless construction of the boxes themselves. It's as if someone came along later, long after the boxes were made, and tried to claim them. That raises a deeper question. Were the boxes and the inscriptions even made by the same people? To understand the mystery, you have to understand the material. These aren't made from limestone, the soft, chalky stone used in most Egyptian monuments. They're granite, complex, unyielding, and incredibly difficult to shape. Most of it came from Aswan, over 500 miles to the south. Somehow, the ancient builders cut these massive granite blocks out of quarries, transported them hundreds of miles, hauled them underground, and carved them with surgical precision, all supposedly with copper chisels and stone hammers. Experimental archaeology shows copper tools take 40 hours to remove 1 cubic inch of granite. Each box required removing 150 cubic feet, equivalent to 8.6 million man-hours per box. It just doesn't add up. And then there's the logistics. The tunnels are 10 feet wide, the boxes 8 feet wide, leaving just 1 foot of clearance per side, which makes it impossible to maneuver 100-ton objects around corners, which means the boxes had to be placed first and the tunnels carved afterward. Think about that. The process involves putting a 100-ton stone underground and then tunneling around it without damaging it. That's like building a wine bottle around the wine. The level of planning required is staggering. And yet, the mainstream explanation still insists that Bronze Age Egyptians managed this feat with nothing more than a workforce, sledges, and clever engineering. Some suggest they used wooden rollers and sand-lubricated tracks. But even those explanations fall apart when accounting for the sheer size of these stones, the uneven terrain, and the turns inside the tunnels. Moving one of these things today would require cranes, lasers, and computers. Back then, no wheels, no pulleys, no steel tools, just muscle. Aerospace engineer Christopher Dunn studied the boxes and found that the flatness inside some of them was accurate to within 0.02 of an inch. That's precision you'd expect in jet engine manufacturing, not in an underground burial vault from 3,000 years ago. According to Dunn, this wasn't the result of chiseling. This was machining, and not just any machining, something close to what modern CNC tools produce today. Dunn wasn't the only one intrigued. Others pointed to artifacts in museums, granite cores with perfectly spiral grooves, blocks with laser-straight saw cuts, and holes that appear to be drilled with circular, high-speed tools. There's no denying it. These marks look mechanical. The real problem is, there are no machines, no remains of tools, no written instructions. There is nothing that can explain how this level of work was even attempted. One possibility is that we're looking at a lost technology. Not aliens, not magic, just something we don't know about anymore. Some researchers have floated the idea of vibrational cutting using sound frequencies to shape hard stone. It sounds far-fetched until you remember that Aswan granite generates 0.004 volts per square centimeter when mechanically stressed. A 100-ton box under pressure could generate measurable electrical potential when it's compressed or vibrated. That's called piezoelectricity, and it's real science. Could these boxes have been part of a larger system, something that used sound, energy, or pressure for purposes we no longer understand? And if so, why were they hidden underground? Why make something this perfect, this huge, this durable, and then bury it in the dark, never meant to be seen? Stranger still, there's no soot on the ceilings of the Serapeum tunnels. Analysis of the tunnel walls shows no carbon residue or heat damage that would result from sustained torch use over the construction period. So, how did they work down there? Were they using a form of artificial light? It sounds ridiculous, but you have to ask. How do you polish a box to mirror perfection in total darkness with copper tools? Dating is just as slippery. Most Egyptologists believe the Serapeum was in use during the reign of Ramses II, around 1280 BCE, based on inscriptions from Kayamwaset, who claimed to have restored the Serapeum, implying the boxes were already ancient. But Ramses didn't build the boxes, he restored the tunnels. That's a significant detail. If the boxes were already there, they could be centuries, or even millennia, older than Ramses himself. That throws the entire historical timeline into question. There's growing evidence that many ancient Egyptian structures like the Great Sphinx, the Valley Temple, and even the core blocks of the Great Pyramid may date far earlier than traditionally thought. Erosion patterns on the Sphinx suggest thousands of years of rainfall, long before Egypt became a desert. Dr. Robert Schoch's geological analysis found precipitation-induced weathering requiring 1,000 years of rainfall between 10,000 and 5,000 BCE, when Egypt's climate was fundamentally different. So what if the Serapeum boxes are relics from that lost era? This is where the theory of a lost civilization comes in. Think about it. Myths from nearly every culture speak of a golden age of gods walking the earth, followed by a great flood or disaster that wiped out almost everything. What if that golden age wasn't a myth, but a memory? What if a civilization with advanced knowledge once existed, was destroyed, and all that remained were scattered monuments, mysterious artifacts, and a few clues etched into stone? If that's true, it could explain why these boxes were so advanced. Maybe they weren't designed by Egyptians at all. Perhaps the Egyptians found them, used them, added inscriptions later, and tried to make sense of what they'd inherited. The fact that some boxes are unfinished or abandoned in place supports this. Maybe something interrupted the original builders? Perhaps a disaster struck. Or maybe the knowledge to complete them was lost, leaving the work behind like frozen blueprints in stone. So what were these boxes really for? The burial theory doesn't hold up. There are no remains, no funerary decorations, no offerings. These aren't tombs. Their interiors are more polished than their exteriors, which suggests that the importance was what went inside, not what was shown on the outside. Some have speculated they were containment units, vaults for storing knowledge, or even biological material. Others believe they were energy chambers, resonators that interacted with the earth or frequencies in the granite itself. One theory is that they were designed to survive a catastrophe. Their sealed nature, granite durability, and underground location were intentional, like black boxes for humanity. Something meant to endure the worst and carry a message to the future. Whatever they were not just boxes. And whoever built them, they weren't ordinary stonemasons. Even now, with laser scanners and AI models, no one can fully explain how they were made. And perhaps that's the most revealing detail of all. We walk through museums, past broken pottery and faded scrolls, imagining the past as primitive. But then you step into the Serapeum, and everything changes. You're no longer sure who built what, or when, or why. You realize that history isn't a straight line. It's a puzzle with missing pieces. And sometimes, the pieces we do have don't fit the story we've been told. The granite boxes of Egypt remain untouched by time, unmoved by explanation, and unsolved by experts. They're not waiting to be dismissed. They're waiting to be understood. And maybe, just maybe, they're waiting for the right questions to be asked. After 170 years of study, the granite boxes pose the same questions. How? Why? When? The precision is undeniable. The logistics are impossible. The purpose is unknown. History's most perfectly engineered mystery remains precisely that, a mystery.